Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk here on a Wednesday. It looks like that snow forecast for tomorrow may be subsiding. Still, the market's red hot despite the chilly temperatures. A lot we're going to cover on a Wednesday when Scott Morris joins us live on set. Scott Morris, we love getting to know this guy of Ross Mortgage, the man you need to call when it comes to refinances or first-time purchases or move-up purchases of housing here in Virginia and in North Carolina.
Yeah. Happy Wednesday. If you're still thinking about that vacation home, let's go get it.
There you go. Keith Smith in the house as well, Principal Yes Realty Partners. We'll take your questions, your perspectives. We'll try to answer them as well as we can here. Judah Wickhauer is our director. We love when he is involved with the program. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
What's going on?
How's everybody?
Good, man. Just glad to see some of this snow subside, hopefully. Although I think it's going to be like freezing next week, so at least it'll look pretty for a while.
I want to find the person that in December said, "Oh, wouldn't snow be pretty for Christmas?" we want to find that person.
Are we over snow here? I'm over snow.
Oh, I was over snow 5 seconds into it.
All right, same with me. You're over snow?
I mean, I'm really into. I thought global warming was going to turn this into like the East Coast San Diego 20 years ago. So
that's why you bought property here, right?
That's right.
So much we're going to cover on the show. So rates are going up, no question about it. Now is the time to reach out to Scott, guys. Refi, or if you're on the fence about purchasing a home, give Keith Smith a ring at Yes Realty Partners and make the deal happen. And we'll try to put this in perspective with some numbers to make it tangible, Keith.
Mm-hmm. Sure, definitely. So on yesterday's show, we were talking to the Erpies about some average list prices and so forth and so on. So in Albemarle County, for instance, just on the attached product, so the average or the median list price right now is roughly $473, $475, depending on that end of it. So
median list, detached, Albemarle County, roughly $475.
No, sir, attached.
Okay.
Attached. You don't want to know what the detached number was.
That's bananas.
Yeah. The detached one, the average list price, and there's 63 of them on the market at the moment. $775.
Woo! That's bananas.
The median detached home is $775 listed at the moment. I will tell you, out of 63, only 10 of them, roughly 12 of them, are new construction. So the balance of that is existing. So it's around 50-something homes that are existing. So the median sales price is $775. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 3,186 square feet, according to this, roughly $249 a square foot. But the median sales price is $775. But on the attached side of it, that number is $473, and 7 of the 12, by the way, are new construction. But what we want to talk about is just assume a $400,000 sale, and we've upticked how much since Monday?
We've moved about 0.5% in about a week.
So I'm borrowing, let's say, $350 or $375 or whatever number is easiest in your head.
At the 400, that's like $85 a month.
Okay, so let's put that in perspective. That's probably why people aren't panicking at the moment. A half-point increase on a 3% rate is getting about $85. That's P&I, principal and interest, right? That doesn't include your taxes and your insurance.
85 is not cheap.
But let's say it includes your taxes.
Well, we love Dave Ferrara and we love Shenandoah Joe, but if you were to buy one left latte I got in my hand a day or a week,
Let's call it a 30-year fixed mortgage. It's 360 payments over a 30-year fixed mortgage.
Correct.
360 times 85 is $30,600.
That's in the life of the loan.
Yes.
That's the life of the loan. Mm-hmm. That's how I look at it.
Well,
I don't look at it as $85 a month.
But most buyers do, by the
way. But this goes back to, are you and your wife having a baby and you have to get out of where you are to move into the next thing?
Sure.
Does that make a difference? Or, from an investment side, 100%. But from a life-changing perspective, I don't think that's as much of a concern. However, the other side is, let's say you've with what we're talking about, if you're trying to get your $500,000 property to be listed at the $700,000 range, you need some, and you've already had some equity increase from when you purchased. Before they keep going up, now's the time to reach in, grab some cash, or get a home equity line of credit and do some repairs, do some upgrades, get that done.
So
Do some debt consolidation.
Yeah, or do some debt consolidation and sit tight where you are.
So I will tell you where a half a point makes a difference is, let's take Lake Monticello. So Lake Monticello right now, believe it or not, only has 12 homes on the market as of this morning. But the median price is upticked quite a bit. It's roughly $300,000 for a median, a 300 to 400. But if you're looking at the $200,000 price range or 250 price range, a half a point could make a difference.
Depending on what that person's income who's shopping at that price point, sure. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
exactly right. So look, it's everybody's somewhat panicking. We've called this some time ago that the interest rates are going to go up. So if anybody who's been listening to us for 2.5 years, we've been predicting it and it's happening. The interest rates are going up. I still, my crystal ball, which we forgot to take out today, I still don't see much over 4% by the end of this year. You're the expert. You might be thinking differently.
My whole take last week was inflation happened faster and went higher than was predicted, and I think rates are going to go up faster
Highest
and
since
higher
40 years.
than predicted.
You still believe that?
If you look at the last 30 years, a chart of what interest rates look like compared to inflation, it's a side-by-side mirror.
It may be a side-by-side mirror, but we've also, if you add a third component to that, which is unemployment. Usually unemployment runs concurrent with inflation and is not doing that at this point. It's actually running opposite.
Let's cross our fingers that one doesn't.
Yeah, thank God. Let's please, dear God, hope that's the case.
Come on, let's keep.
I wasn't going down that road.
The man's a realist.
Hit by a bus. But sorry. Bottom line is, none of this should come as a surprise. Like we have been.
I think that's the
talking
point I'm
about
trying
it.
to make.
At the same time, we are seeing real wage growth, so that one is gonna make inflation a little stickier, and that's but also help overcome some of the rate increase.
So let me ask you a question. How was your business in 2019?
Great.
And what was the interest rate in 2019?
4.5%.
4.5% to 5%.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we talk about this all the time, that my position on it is that this sub 3 was all of a sudden everybody thinking this was the new norm, and it's not. And we've been talking about this until we're blue in the face. So even at 4.5%, people were buying homes left and right. That situation did not change. So I think we're in a little bit of a mental adjustment period, right? But
it's also, and let's cut to the chase, it's also extremely media driven. I mean, we're getting so hammered.
Panic, everyone, panic.
Yeah, I know. The media. I mean, we have CNBC on here in the studio. It's constant. We're being bombarded by it, and we just need some deep breath perspective.
And that's what we're trying to do here.
So, for instance, right now, today's the average rate's somewhere between 3.75 and 3.825, depending on good credit, money down, equity, that sort of thing. That was the beginning of the refi race. Yeah. March of 2020.
We're sprinting for it.
Yeah, that was like, oh my gosh, let's go. And now, part of, a lot of that was taken off the table, but the purchases are still there. And I think part of the inventory problem we are facing locally at the moment, we just went through the holidays. We just went through a snowstorm, packed by another snowstorm. It's, getting a property ready for market.
We can't go into details on this stuff, but Yonna and I literally put a home on the market. You know the home because it's by where we live on that end of it on Friday, had showings in the snowstorm, right?
That's so crazy.
Right, had offers in, and it took us a couple of days to negotiate those offers because it was multiple offers, but we ultimately put it under contract in a snowstorm, right?
I get that, but you don't think that there's people out there that, for whatever personal reasons, have been in communication with their realtors and haven't listed because they think, oh, do I really want to deal with all this right now?
Well, it's not only that. It's and I've got stats and stuff to support what I'm going to say. We're not seeing this. You're not seeing it. Your phone's blowing up here pre-show on this stuff. The spring market is already sprung. I mean, there is none of this normal, okay, let's catch a breath. Let's slow down in December. Let's slow down in January. Let's get February, rocking and rolling. People in December and January are getting their homes for ready. This particular home we're talking about, the week before, we had trees all over it, right, because of the snowstorm. And because we know people, right?
Can I ask what the buyer profile is?
It's what you've always been predicting. It's out of the Nova area, relocating down here. The home is very set up for age in place, right? I'm trying not to. Basically, my age, guys. So it's.
You're a millennial at heart.
I am. It's set up for that type of thing. So typically the buyer profile would not have been a family with a bunch of kids, right? It's all one level, master bedrooms on the first floor. It's set up for age and place living on that end of it.
And the neighborhood is absolutely red hot per usual, Lake Monticello.
It is.
So this is a question that came up yesterday. And this could be a potential sizzle reel, because this is a question that we did not have the answer to. Emergent Financial Services, the ERPs, they help clients get into Roth IRAs. Keith Smith and Yes Realty Partners help clients get into homes, sell their homes, negotiate deals. The question that was asked by one of our viewers and listeners is Roth IRAs, and how many of your clients were utilizing Roth IRAs to purchase homes, and how you navigate that process of utilizing financial instruments, wealth building accounts to climb the housing totem pole. Sizzle reel right here waiting to happen.
So there's a couple different options to that. One would be, are you just taking the funds out to use for down payment? The other is, are you someone who's recently retired and had a change in monthly income, annual income, but you have a significant amount of money in that IRA? Assuming that you do, we would contact your financial advisor and use something called asset depletion. So we run a regular pay schedule out of that IRA in order to use that for qualifying mortgage income, so you can purchase the home based on that monthly draw we're going to take from the IRA in order for you to qualify for the mortgage.
So the conversation was revolved around, I was tormenting poor Nick Erpy, who was at the misfortune of sitting to the right of me, a little bit too close to me.
He's watching.
But the reality of it is, in today's world, the fallacy or the thinking that you need 20% down payment from your side of the house to do a deal isn't kind of the norm, right? You don't need 20% down.
Sure, yeah, that's definitely still a big misconception, depending on usually from a first-time buyer, and what channel or how they get funneled in through their Google search.
But the but is, we on my side of the house is I'm representing Jerry, you're the other side, and we're trying to get Jerry to get that deal. And sometimes it might be better to put more cash down, right? Because it puts me in a competitive position to go ahead and win the deal, particularly if I'm competing against cash. So the question I was trying to get to, what tools do you have in your toolbox to help me to help Jerry get a house when I'm competing against cash? Is it a greater down payment? How can we utilize your toolbox to help Jerry get the deal? Does that make sense?
So 100%. So one of those things depends on how soon you find me in the process. If we go through and let's say that you're self-employed and that the listing agent is aware of that and they have concerns. If I've gotten you involved with me early enough in the process that we go ahead and get you as the individual underwritten ahead of time, so that
So let's talk about that
Let
because
the man finish for a sizzle reel.
Let's say
Sorry.
that you
Got
find me
excited.
early enough in the process, and you're self-employed, and we get you underwritten ahead of time, meaning that we qualify and can commit you, the borrower buyer, up front, given your self-employed history, so that when we contact the listing agent along with your offer to say, hey, listing agent, this is Scott Morris, Ross Mortgage. Keith Smith has made an offer on a house on the behalf of Jerry Miller. Want to let you know, Jerry is self-employed, but we've actually underwritten him as the individual completely. We have a loan commitment to issue you at this point. The only thing I'm missing is an appraisal and a contract. Do you think that we can put this thing together? That is going to be as competitive as we can make if we're already going to be the better offer minus the cash.
got it. So apologize for interrupting you
Yeah,
on your
mark that one
on
there
your
right there, J-Dub.
sizzle reel. So I'll try to make up for that.
I didn't know that was going to be a sizzle. So
Yeah, but in any event, so that's what I want to take a deeper dive into, because this is on our side of the house, a conversation that Jerry, as our buyer, is always asking us, right? How can we win the day, right?
So I actually had this conversation with some first-time buyers who, now, mind you, they've lost 2 houses, 2 consecutive weekends, and I was like, 6 months ago, a year and a half ago, I'd have been like, yeah, that is terribly disappointing. At this point, I'm like, par for the course, my
That's the
friend.
norm.
Buckle up, homie.
Yeah, right. That's the norm.
So, but that being said, they are deflated. Is this really what it's like? We're being told that we're being beaten by cash. What does that mean, and how do we compete against it?
And that's the question I'm trying to ask you.
And the answer is, we are mindful about the properties that you're buying. You keep going. Don't be demoralized by this. Just because it was the house doesn't mean it was like the house. There are more options out there. There's more coming on the market. Just buckle up, be diligent, and know that you're going in making the best offer that you can be comfortable making. Don't overextend yourself or overcommit yourself to win.
So it's kind of funny how karma works. I will tell you, on a bunch of the transactions we've done last year, particularly with first-time home buyers, and they miss it, and they miss it, and they miss, not 2, they miss 3, they miss 6,
Yeah.
they miss 10 on that stuff. And we finally get one, inevitably we end up having a conversation. You know what? I love this house more than the ones that I lost. That conversation happens more often than not. But I think what you said earlier is super important for folks that are particularly in the first time thing. Don't get my pre-qual, right? Get my pre-approval. Go get with your trusted advisor. Get with your real estate agent. This is what we do. We sit down with them. Let's get this thing all done. All the boxes checked from a funding perspective, except for the appraisal. And if the other side, list the home and they are comfortable with the price and we do our homework on it, it should be a slam dunk. But that puts you in at least a position of strength that you can constantly win it. That's, to me, more important than a higher down payment.
100%. And also, please let me know when you're making your offer so that I can touch the listing agent. That's the biggest thing. Because let's say they get 8 offers, 10 offers. I saw something, 21 offers on something recently.
At what price point?
That was around $350, I think.
This area or up in?
This was in Richmond.
Got it.
$350 will get you a lot in Richmond.
Yeah.
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 So the value of
And surprisingly, there's still $200,000-ish properties available. That's a thing. So
In Richmond.
Yeah.
Well, that's just because they have a hell of a lot more rooftops
Yeah.
in Richmond.
And when the area makes a difference too.
location
certainly-
location is number
I mean,
one.
we're not talking west end of Richmond.
Correct.
Yeah. We're talking, what side are you talking in Richmond?
Petersburg.
Yeah, Petersburg area. That makes sense. So you got comments coming in for you guys. Some from agents, some from folks in your space. Buster Fox, loan officer at C&F Mortgage Corporation.
Buster, what's up?
You know Buster?
I do not.
Buster was a hell of a baseball player, one of the best pool players in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, Buster Fox. He has this. I had someone with an 800 credit score, met him on Saturday. They were at Friday's rate sheet with the 3.375. On Tuesday, they were at 3.625. 10-year Treasury got knocked around. People hear about rate increase. They're still the best rates we have ever had in American history.
Period.
Yeah.
That's a period.
Yeah, no, he goes exclamation point,
Yeah,
exclamation
yeah,
point,
yeah, yeah.
exclamation
That
point.
mirrors what did we say last Wednesday on the show? We were talking about 3.25 as a rate, and now. But bottom line is, I keep saying this. Like, so for the refi shops and the people who all they want to do is sell rate in a constant race to the bottom. Bless you, my friend. Have fun. Like, that's fine. If you are a purchase-focused company and you are about solving people's problems, people are not making decisions based on rate. They're making them off life-changing decisions.
Life-changing decisions. I very rarely will have a rate discussion. It's more about, well, what do you think my monthly payment is going to be on this end of it? You know, and then, oh, by the way, once I factor in my utilities and all this great stuff, and I'm making this amount of money, how much is it going to cost me? And, oh, by the way, what is my transportation cost? These are conversations we have with clients all the time.
The greater big picture problem is the same problem that it was 4 or 5 years ago, but now we are in a much more exaggerated version of how do we fix the inventory problem with more new construction, like, which, you know,
But that ain't happening.
we could all sit around and just beat this horse.
No.
I can't give names, but I was on the phone today with several supervisors from a couple of counties trying to do that same conversation. Hey guys, we need more inventory. But
Did you not find Supervisor, and we both have tremendous respect for Supervisor McKeel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She was on Real Talk on Friday. And when the inventory comment came up, which was brought up by Neil Williamson, who's pro-inventory, her response was, do you remember her response?
Oh, I had several meetings with her after that, so I don't want to jumble up meetings and all that stuff. So I'll trust on your
Her
memory.
response on the microphone in front of the cameras was, thank you for the comments, Neil. We still have shopping centers in the 5% developmental area that are completely vacant.
Well, on Friday, the subject will come up again with Neil and Ned Galloway. But so the answer that you're going to hear from the supervisors more than likely is we've got to develop what we've got first, which is not a bad idea.
Because that's what their current constituents are asking them to do.
Well, more than that, that's what their current comp plan says to do, right?
Touche.
So they need to follow that. They need to amend their comp plan before you. But I don't want to get in the weeds on all that kind of stuff. We'll tackle that fun stuff on Friday. But the reality of it is their answer is develop more in the development area. That's great.
Go ahead.
But you got to approve them.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. You gotta approve it.
You got to approve it.
So comments come in for you guys. This one from Holland. And it's
Holland,
from
as in the country Holland.
Holland, as in the country Holland.
Oh, I know who this is.
It's Gwendolyn Gale Cassidy.
Yeah.
Harvard graduate, entrepreneur. Gwendolyn, we appreciate your perspective very much on the show. She
Thank you
says,
for being up so early.
I would need to dust off my economics degree, but why is nobody speaking about stagflation yet? Obviously, we're still at the beginning of inflation, but if unemployment continues to grow at a higher rate, we will be experiencing stagflation sooner than expected.
I think we came out of stagflation. I think we were kind of in stagflation for a while, and a little bit of inflation is not a bad thing, but this is ridiculous.
Any thoughts on that, Scott Morris? And then Ray Cadell, the Realtors, got comments here.
I am not here to duel with the Harvard graduate on stagflation possibilities, but I will say, we're probably talking more of a national perspective. We are in a
micro
very
bubble.
blessed little area. So the Northern Virginia, Richmond, Charlottesville, university-driven economy that we have here, and medical, Defense Intelligence Agency, NGIC, all what we have around us driving the success for these areas is not what drives the problems throughout the rest of the country. And I think that through the years, when we've seen things be bad in other places, they have not been as bad here. So I don't even want to go down that road because I don't think it technically applies to our area.
Ray Cadell.
Same with unemployment, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, certainly unemployment. Yeah, we're very protected here. And the crazy thing is we have many new employers, which we've highlighted on Real Talk in the past, coming to the market, hiring more people. Not aggravating, the potential crossroads is those people are coming in from outside the market.
That's exactly right.
to take these jobs and not being hired from within the market for these jobs, which causes a dynamic in and of itself.
But that's
Well,
not. Go ahead.
Sure, but that also has to do with, all right, let's say you're somebody who details cars for a living, and you don't have not necessarily a higher education, but a higher trade skill level, and you lose that job detailing cars. Is your next job going to be applying as a plumber's apprentice, or are you going to go see if you can detail cars somewhere else? Most likely that person's going to go detail cars somewhere else as opposed to...
They'll do a lateral move, not a vertical move.
So when you talk about being inside of a bubble area and people not being hired from inside that area, how many people from inside that area are qualified to take on the next level skill positions that these companies are trying to fill?
Great point. I'll play devil's advocate with you.
Okay.
Okay. And you're 1,000% right. This is, and Keith, jump in after I say, okay, this is where I think it really impacts. You bring in the hirees from outside the market into Central Virginia, and you have limited rooftop inventory. These hirees coming from outside the market into the area are being paid six-figure wage, and they're taking up the limited rooftop inventory, cannibalizing it from someone that's within the market, expediting gentrification.
That is not playing devil's advocate. That's just a piggyback on the explanation that I just gave. Because if these employers came in, let's say they wanted to hire from within the market, what kind of timeline would they have to apply to getting qualified people either out of the university, who's probably coming from out of the area anyways, or training someone who already exists and flipping them into the position that they need? From a cost perspective as a business, that just doesn't make sense.
Keith, jump in here.
Yeah, so I think when the crystal ball comes out 12, 24, 36, 48 months from now, you're going to find a huge percentage of these jobs are filled from outside the area. That's just the way it's going to happen. We are not producing enough folks from a labor perspective or from an employment or an employer-employee relationship to fill those slots. They're going to come in.
Why do big cities continue to grow? Because people migrate to New York and these other areas, Northern Virginia, from outside of the area for the opportunity. That's the same reason that they're
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because there's a migration going on, right? And there's always been a migration going on, right? People are retiring out of the Northeast, they're coming down, they're getting backstopped by younger people. I mean, my daughter and I were having a conversation up in the New York market, the real estate markets, they're thinking about doing a lateral move or a vertical move into a new home. The inventory up there is just as bad as it is.
Is this Connecticut daughter?
Yeah. So the Seattle daughter needs to find a different place to live before they can buy something. It's a little bit too expensive over there. But look, I kind of, we had a couple of questions before I went backwards a little bit.
Yeah, we do. So Ray Cadell says, do some kind of big systems home inspection before you make the offer and waive the inspection.
Great. So that's what we do. We actually.
What's for you?
Yeah, we actually, when we do a showing, I actually bring my home inspector with us, or one of the home inspectors we work with. I can look at it from my perspective because of my building background, but I can't because I'm there on a different license to do that. But I will bring that, and we will do that, and we will spend a half an hour going through, and that's Ray's spot on. So you can do that, you can waive that. So he's kind of brought it back to what I wanted to bring back here. There's 2.3 million adults that are aged between 28 and 32. It is the largest buyer profile out there. And these will be the first-time home buyers, right? And whatever price point it is, it depends on how much income they're going to make and their job and all this stuff. So we as professionals at this table need to figure out how we can help them. And Ray's suggestion is a great suggestion. The other suggestion is look, man, if you're competing against cash, you've got to have everything done but this appraisal and then
speaking
move on.
of the appraisal, I never recommend anyone, especially a first-time home buyer, to waive an appraisal, meaning that you're going to pay whatever that is. But, however, commit to a certain amount of money over that you're willing to pay. If it's $5,000, $10,000, and you have those funds available, that way it's agreed to in the beginning. We agree to pay $5,000 over the appraisal, so that way if it does come in at less than whatever the offer is, here's the deal. We agreed to this, and it's already put to bed. Let's move forward.
That's a third item, and let's talk about that because this particular deals that we've recently done had appraisal.
This is a good little dynamic here, the three of us.
Oh.
And I can tell the coffee's starting to kick
The
in over on this
coffee-
side of the table over here.
And there's people watching.
Yeah, there are people watching here.
Okay, so
and you got more comments coming in, but finish your thought over there, Keith Smith.
Thank you, sir. So the 100% right. That's another tool in the toolbox, right? But that's part of the trusted advisor conversation, right? We have a conversation with the buyer. You have a conversation with the buyer. We have an honest and open discussion about what kind of capital they have, what kind of cash they have and they don't have, what kind of cash they can get, and say, okay, look, we're going to say, look, I will pay $5,000 over the appraised value, right? And that doesn't really, what I like about that path, and some real estate agents might not agree with me on that, that kind of takes the problem we had in 82, it's going to be 2008, 2010 off the table because they're using cash and not borrowing that money to buy something.
Right, and they're not writing a blank check saying,
That's exactly
by
right.
saying let's waive it, and then if it comes in, for instance,
Yeah.
I have now there's a unique property at a low price point that came in $50,000 short, and it probably should have, because when you look at what the existing comps were for anything close to it, like they weren't where they were. So the problem there becomes, could these people who didn't even, I mean, that wasn't an issue, could they have paid $50,000 over for a one-bedroom in the middle of nowhere somewhere? Probably not. No, of course not. But at the same time, had they had like a $2,000 or $5,000 clause in the original contract, we could have put this to bed without a lot of fuss.
Yeah, because then it gets back into the negotiation
Yeah.
end of it. That goes what we do well on our side of the table with your help is to negotiate it and kind of get it there. What kind of loan were they doing?
FHA.
FHA. Were they doing that renovation one?
Nope. This is just standard, and so that means it sticks with the property as well.
Got it.
This question's from Brian. Can Scott offer perspective on rate increases in the jumbo market with clients with relatively decent credit and, of course, the down payment ready to go?
So
That's a broad question.
It is a broad question. So jumbo is not unique to. It's going to see the same types of increases. Now, if you get into and how much cash. So if you told me that you had $5 million in the bank with Wells Fargo and all these other very unique situational type of things, I would say you should probably call them and not me and see if they'll negotiate some sort of portfolio loan where you're essentially borrowing against yourself to buy the property.
How often do you see that, though?
How often do I see? I mean, I don't run into like tons.
$5
of
billion
dudes
cash
with,
rich?
Yeah. Like, but it exists. Like, that's a thing. So in that type of jumbo situation, but if you're just saying I've got the money for the down payment, just be as savvy as you can. But more importantly, if you're buying at that high of a price point and you're self-employed, and you're an eighth or a quarter difference between two people that you're shopping with, and you trust one of them is going to be able to get your deal done and the other is going to cause you a lot of gray hairs and sadness, go with the person that's going to get your deal done.
Is there any rate split between the purchase and refi right now, or are they pretty much tracking the same?
Depends on, look, they're pretty much tracking the same,
Yeah.
but I mean, it depends on, again, equity and credit. And
So
all
that
the other
client,
things.
I would advise, take some of your cash out of your pocket, buy the thing, assuming you're not taking a hit when you're pulling it out of your, wherever you have it hidden as far as your tax liability goes. Not hidden, that's the wrong choice of words.
Yeah,
You
so
have-
I advised a friend of mine, this was a couple weeks ago, this is someone who has that kind of money. He said, hey, should I borrow this?
He has $5 billion sitting in an account.
Yeah, this
And
dude's got like,
Okay.
yeah. And he's like, what should I do? I was like, just go pay cash for it, and if you want to get the cash back, we'll refi you out.
That's
and-
the track I was trying to go
Yeah.
down in, because even at certain price points, even at the $1 million price points, it's competitive. There's multiple offers. You are competing against
Yeah.
other folks, at the quote unquote the luxury or the jumbo thing. My advice I gave one to a client the other day was, look, buy it in cash, right? As long as you're not taking a hit to pull it out, which they weren't. And then give Scott a call and refi it. What the hell's the difference?
More coming in. This one for Keith Smith. This is a good question. It was touched on briefly yesterday. Maybe we take a deeper dive on this one. How rate increases will impact dirt purchases for developers.
Yeah, so that's a whole different funding path than Scott deals with, right? So this is what they call A&Ds, acquisition and development loans. And they're generally tied to prime. So as prime goes up, they're typically a point and a half. Some of them do LIBOR, and they do different rates. But those rates are tied to prime, which prime is, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, is tied to the T-bill or tied to what Yellen is trying to do.
Prime is when we're talking about the rate hikes throughout the year, that is prime.
That's exactly right. So that generally affects prime, your credit card mostly on that kind of stuff. But on the development side,
Auto loans, consumer stuff. Yeah.
I had a conversation with a couple developers, and they're like, I'm a point and a half over prime on a $20 million deal. That per month, I'm telling you, I've been there. That's a lot of money. And they're rethinking it. Plus the struggle of trying to get it approved, plus the struggle of doing it. And the builders and the developers, I'm not predicting this, but they may pull back a little bit with this. That is going to be a larger impact, probably, on the market.
And by pull back, for the viewers, you mean build less.
But they're just not going to. They're just not going to chase deals, right? It costs a ton of money to get it approved, to go through the process. And then, oh, by the way, unless I got a pot full of cash, right, my performer is projected, because it's only going to go up. So
Nick Hill giving Scott props.
I hope that was a decent answer to
Diana Lynn Banks and Amy Lynn.
Hey.
Giving Scott Morris props. What's on the brain, Scott?
Even though that for big site work and development, I agree. That's going to cost more money. You're going to have less people who are giving it quite as much of a look. I still think there's a lot of opportunity for mid-level builders, people doing 20 to 40 homes a year who are out buying, 10-acre lots, busting them up, 30-acre lots, busting them up. I think that's still, and I think that's really our sweet spot for where we are in making things grow. I did like a buyer seminar, not first time, but just kind of a buyer seminar with an agent last week, and they had somebody from planning and zoning in Culpeper there, who was kind of like on the let's defend the farmland, let the farmers defend the farmland. Let's talk about if somebody's applying for something, how do we make it more successful for them to execute those plans and build some houses so that we have control over our market as far as what growth really looks like.
So do you know what I was going to say? The number one question I've been asked since the beginning of this year, which is really the number two. The number one question is, how do I get on Real Talk? That's the first question. and then, I was only kidding. The second question, you know what my number one question is now? I need a builder.
Yeah.
I need a builder.
Did you notice today, many of the publicly traded builder companies are being downgraded? So you know why they're being downgraded? This is the rate hikes.
That's the point was trying to make earlier. But these
and the remodeling companies, guess what's happening with them?
They're going up.
They're absolutely on fire right now.
Yeah.
And it's a reflection of what you predicted, people staying in their homes longer and not looking to list. And instead, you're seeing the potential warts and trying to fix them.
So again, that's a great opportunity right now. If you've got all this equity, let's
look at a cash out refinance,
or even a home equity line of credit. We'll get them both done.
Scott Morris, ABC over there. I love it, Scott. I love Scott Morris, dude. The guy is great for this setting. We have three dudes that can freaking talk right here, all at the same table. I love it. Makes my job easy. It really very much does.
Yeah. So. 100% right. You're going to see that, but what the phone calls I'm getting is not for the big purchases. These are hey, I got a client looking for a lot. They found a lot, but now I need a builder to build on it, and that pool is pretty small. And then the follow-up question is, oh yeah, by the way, that we want to do everything under $800,000 in Western Albemarle, and that's exactly what I do.
And did you just laugh?
No, I don't do that, Jerry. I just say I think that's a little bit unrealistic at this point. Actually, my follow-up question is, you mean just the house, right?
Yeah, not the lot itself.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone wants to do new construction with the dirt in Albemarle,
It's got a 1 in front of it.
right? I mean, that's realistic, right?
That's not 100. It's got a 1.
It's $1 million.
It's got a 1 in front of it. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't build something a little bit smaller or whatever, but at the moment,
You're getting .09 in my hood, .09, 1,800 square foot home, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
around 9, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
.09, Scott.
I
No comment on that one right there?
don't know. I mean, I'm
'Cause this guy's sitting on 65 acres, is that right?
24.
24.
Yeah.
But in Culpeper.
In Culpeper, like 4,500 square feet, 5,000 square feet, finished. I don't know. To me, that's bonkers. And
It's bonkers.
yeah.
So NAR, Jessica Luntz, this kind of brings into what we're talking about. 88% of the purchasers are buying in suburban, small town or rural areas. That's up from 85 last year. So,
But is that choice for those, or is that no other choice?
well, so it's interesting if you read the article. The rest of it, part of it is choice. Part of it is this impact of this hybrid world that we're in now, that they don't necessarily have to work. We had this conversation with Nick. At the end of the day, he wants the white picket fence, the backyard, the whole 9 yards, and that's where this buyer
In Albemarle County.
Well, yeah, in Albemarle County, budget may move them out, but that's what's happening. Budget is moving them out, and that's what you're going to see with the big developers and builders. They're going to start walking back some of the more restrictive areas to work with, and then they're going to go out to the periphery and start. And people are going to drive there. I may be wrong, but that's always kind of been what's going on.
Scott, your thoughts? You bullish on outer counties? Louisa, Buckingham, Madison?
I've always been bullish on the outer counties. One, it's going to help the let's say look at the retail in Scottsville. Let's look at what Scottsville has gone from in the past 30 years. I mean, the restaurants, the retail, everything is an entirely different planet than it was when I grew up. And as internet expands, availability for that, people are willing to commute a little further or have more options when it comes to working from home, you're going to see those areas prosper more from that than from anything else. And I think, and they should. It's, you're not living on top of 100 people, and you're not paying, depending on the county. Let's say you're on the other side of the bridge, you're in Buckingham, you're not paying the taxes you are in Albemarle or Fluvanna, for that matter. But I think that there's a huge benefit to development in those areas.
So, interesting. Fluvanna County, since you bring it up, I'm just doing some quick math here. So Lake Monticello has 12 houses on the market. The Fluvanna County has 12 houses on the market currently. The same pending right now. Fluvanna County had 60 transactions versus 27. So people are moving out, even outside of Lake Monticello, they're moving out into the counties and moving out there. I think that trend is going to continue along.
Where's the person that's living in the outer counties now that's looking to sell their home? Where are they moving to?
That's a great question. The recent listings, and we've been fortunate enough, and thank you for everybody at this table for that, to do some quite
You guys
a few.
did really well.
We're doing really good on listing
Yeah.
side of it house. Most of them are moving out of the area.
Out of Central Virginia in totality.
They're getting jobs someplace else. They're moving to something whatever. There's a few internal moves, or lateral moves is what I call them, on that end of it. But at least our experience has been a lot of them are moving. You don't see a lot of move-up buyers, at least from our perspective. Sellers, excuse me.
Moving to North Carolina?
No. What I mean by move-up is they're moving from their first home to a larger home.
They're leaving something more rural to come into a more urban area at a higher price point.
That's exactly right. Is that what you're seeing?
I see a little bit of everything. I mean, I've actually talked to more people moving in from out of the area, and it's entirely like moving in from Portland, DC, Louisiana, like into Central Virginia from outlier areas in its entirety.
So in that conversation, what fields are they in? Do you kind of get into that conversation?
Some are military relocating.
Yeah.
Some are techie people who've had an opportunity. Some are government contractors. A little bit of everything. Some are moving here to be near family. That's been another.
How about multifamily situations? Are that ticking up a little bit for you?
I get questions about it, but as far as, I don't know that we have a ton of properties that totally support the idea.
So what I mean by that is multiple
generations under one roof.
Not multifamily as far as apartments.
Oh, okay.
Apologize, I didn't explain. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's always, I can't say that I'm seeing more. Typically, there's more by need or more by, what's the best, or by culture. Like, I certainly have dealt with some families that traditionally are going to have mom and dad with them in some older demographics. But typically we're still they're looking for a property that fits their needs, and one of them is, and it's not usually a combination of the two as who's going to be paying for it. It's usually one person.
So it's interesting. This recent sale actually has an apartment in the basement, and it's going to be a
mother-in-law.
Yeah, kind of that kind.
Granny.
That kind of setup on the buyer. You probably don't know this number off the top of your head, but if you do, it'd be great. So your mortgage applications, the people calling you for, hey, I need to start a mortgage application the first month, the January of this month versus January of last year. Are we up now or about the same?
Great question.
No, I do. My numbers are about the same for especially purchase.
So you're not seeing it tick down?
I'm not seeing it tick down.
So that's the reason I went through each one of the jurisdictions the other day, prepare for this week's series of shows, because this active and pending in all the 6 areas here reflected this uptick in
Activity?
Well, no, it reflected the uptick in mortgage rates.
Okay.
And it sure as hell didn't affect the purchasing.
Is your business more of a lagging indicator?
Not really.
So let's say
applications is what I'm speaking of.
We're talking about applications, and we're also talking about purchase, not refinance. So there are fewer refinance activity at the moment than there was last January, but at the same time, I would say I went through a little bit of this yesterday. We're very, very similar as far as purchase activity. Like, there's not, but we talked about this earlier. Like, the people who are doing that are not watching mortgage rates and going, God, we can't buy a house because they went up 0.25%. Like, that's not even on their radar. They might go, oh, what do you mean that I just saw that we were supposed to be at 3.25? Okay, while we're on the phone, do you have an iPhone? Okay, great. Hey, would you take the time to Google mortgage rates? Yeah, just put me on speaker, whatever you need to do. Okay, do you see the difference between where we were today versus where we were 7 days ago? That's why I'm quoting you something different than what you saw 7 days ago. Like, ask the question, what do you think mortgage rates are today? Why do you think that? Move that out of the conversation and focus on what are your real needs in making this purchase.
So, Stephanie Wells Rhodes, hello, Intrastate Service Company. Hello, Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie, how you doing? The reason why mortgage applications are so important to track, and that's going to be my new tracking thing on how keeping a track of what's happening with the market, is because we had the conversation we had earlier, right? We're seeing most people are not doing pre-quals, right? Or this, hey, give me my social security number and we're done. Everybody's now going to what Scott's talking about, where you actually run through your underwriters and you actually do a pre-approval on that end of it, and that requires a mortgage application, correct?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and documents. And
so we're tracking mortgage applications.
That's why you're saying it's not a lagging indicator.
It's not a lagging indicator, and it's important for the mortgage application to follow that, because if you start dropping drastically on that, then it's going to impact our side of the house.
Sure, yeah, 100%. Well, that goes back, but all this churns its way back to, we were going into the hottest 5 years of demographic qualified buyers
Talking millennials.
Millennials, and when you were talking earlier, we got this 3 million, whatever, how many people?
23 million.
23 million people coming to this age and demographic. Those people aren't going away. Now, do we have to get more creative, and how do we help get them qualified and put them in the best positions to be able to purchase? Absolutely.
So this is a constant conversation I have with Yvonne in Houston, my daughter and my son-in-law, right? They're in Seattle. He's wrapping up his residency. Thank you. His residency out there. Hey, Dad, we're thinking about. So they're actually trying to pick where to go in the country, and they're picking locations, and we're involved in that conversation about, well, okay.
What are the options?
I prefer not to say.
Okay.
They asked me not to.
Okay.
So, but in any event, part of the conversation is okay. Well, if you're in this jurisdiction or you're in this state in this area, looks like your income should be this. Let's take a look at housing, right? Let's take a look at what's available on that end of it, because they don't want to repeat where they are now, where they just, even at a doctor's salary and a teacher's salary, they can't afford Seattle, right? They just can't afford it. So the point is that's part of the discussion, and we're actually having that conversation with other people who are looking to relocate into the area. On that end of it is, okay, let's have this conversation about. This is not the conversation about I want 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and a white picket fence. Let's have this conversation about our finances, right? Let's have a conversation with Scott and say, okay, what can I borrow? What can I borrow? Let's get that number and what payment you're comfortable with, and then we start looking for homes, which is a unique conversation because everybody wants to talk about bedrooms first and not, okay, let's see what we can buy.
This is an interesting comment from Stephen, who watches many of our shows. He says, Keith and Scott, what are the hottest neighborhoods or zip codes you're doing business within in Central Virginia?
Where's the most inventory? I'll keep that to you.
Oh, great, thanks.
Hey, no problem.
Look, it depends on your price point, right? It depends on what you want to buy, what you want to do, and all this stuff. But I actually can run through.
You guys do a ton in Lake Monticello.
We do a ton all over. I mean, we do everything from Harrisonburg to Richmond. I mean, it's all over. But just in the 6 areas, Greene County is probably your best bet. It has a 1-to-1 ratio. In other words, there's 31 homes on the market and roughly 32 homes in pending. So that's a best opportunity. But if you're looking for a detached home in Western Albemarle, that's like a 6 or 7-to-1 ratio. That's going to be a hard find. So these outside jurisdictions, these outside counties, you have a better chance to do it because you're closer to this 1-to-1 ratio on that end of it. Hope that was.
Did you identify a neighborhood over there?
I did the best I could to not answer that. I was on a board meeting yesterday, and the question I got asked was, please define affordable housing. And I talked for 35 minutes, and everybody went, you didn't answer the question. I said, then I did a good job.
Scott, that question?
Steve, where do you want to live?
There you go. Great question.
What's the hottest place for you? I don't know. Really, it boils down to price point, actual inventory availability. I could say, me personally, it's not West End or Richmond. I think I see a lot of activity, but there's just more.
That place is awesome.
There's more rooftops. This goes back to
and it's not a far. It's an easy drive here.
Yeah, and it's I think future. I don't know. It's a tough question just because it just.
To answer that question, you need the trusted advisors. This is something we can't shoot from the hip on live.
Where do you want to be? Like, what works for you? What works for you? May not work for me. That's But
just from the numbers end of it, you have a better chance in some of these outlying counties if you just want to win because of the ratios. When you start getting into these 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 6-to-1 ratios,
you have some neighborhoods that you better come in with some serious bags of money. You got Belmont, you got North Downtown, right? You have anywhere on the Ivy Corridor, right?
Yeah.
Western Albemarle and Old Trail. You better have some serious bags of money. some neighborhoods in Keswick. I mean, you're talking about houses that are trading for minimum of $850 and going well north of $1 million. And then you have some neighborhoods where it's not necessarily price competitive like that, but it's buyer competitive in that you have 8, 10, 14 offers. These higher price points might not have depth in offers, but they have competitiveness in price point.
And to Scott's point, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? So if I can work from home, I mean, I'm pulling up on Nelson County. Nelson County has basically a 1-to-1 ratio. You can probably pick up something between $300,000 to $400,000 on the end of it. And if you need to work from home, man, you probably never leave your house, right? Other than to go food shopping or whatever. But if I got to travel into town and I'm that detailer, right? And where am I going to live? And that's when you got to bring in the trusted advisors to do that.
This is for Keith and Scott from Nicholas Irving.
Hey, Nick.
I think could be potentially a client for both you guys. I have a question that's a variation of Steven's question. Steven's question is, where are you doing business? But I'm curious if there are locations where people are asking if they can find a home. I'd like to be in Crozet, but they realize they can't afford it, so they end up in Green.
Yeah.
You kind of answered that there.
Yeah, I mean, it's where you can afford, and it depends on their lifestyle, right? On their life choices and what they're trying to achieve. And Green is working on its Wi-Fi on its broadband.
It's broadband, yeah.
So that's a good thing.
And it has inventory.
It has inventory.
You highlighted.
It has inventory. You know, you've got a better chance, right? So if you're I need to be in a home, right? You know, I'm whatever it is, I got to be in a home. This is when you call in your trusted advisors. We start taking a conversation of what does Nick need, what doesn't he need. On that end of it is, this is forever house, which is no such a thing, right? I'm only going to be there for 5 or 10 years. We talk to Scott. We go ahead and get go through underwriting. We get that done, and we start the process. And then we go to work, right? We go to work to negotiate. We go to work to get a deal for him. And then he appreciates his 3 to 5% year over year, because that's pretty much the norm on that end of it. And then he makes his lateral move or upward move at a later date.
And what do you want to be near? Because to be honest, I've always been mind boggled by the Crozet thing. Like,
it's strictly school driven.
Okay.
It's parents that want the best for their kids in schools and want really good public schools.
Okay.
But it's interesting. I have a lot of empty nesters that move there and like that area.
But I mean,
to Old Trail.
But
That's
okay,
exactly right.
so
Yeah.
the Old Trail townhouses are I just don't get it, and that's cool. That would never be my thing. Like, if I wanted to be near Charlotte, for the people who buy because they want to be near Charlottesville and they move to Crozet, I'm sure for you that was a good plan. For me, I would always go to Greene or Fluvanna or Scottsville or somewhere probably that just, I feel like I'd be overpaying to be 25 minutes from town, if that makes sense.
I understand that. To each their own.
To each their own. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
To each their own.
So when you ask about the hottest market, like what's hot for you might not be so hot for me. That's why I think Greene, to me, you can have better mountain or comparable or better mountain views and like all the cool. I also kind of want to be away from everybody. I don't want to be like in that neighborhood. But that again,
well, that's because you're talking to people and dealing with people all the time, and you want
like people.
You want to.
Yeah, no, he likes people. He likes people. He likes privacy as
but,
well.
Let's say I like people, but I like privacy.
Yeah, let's say at Old Trail you can't do your pig roast you do every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and don't you have a hell of a lot of animals?
I got a lot of chickens. I mean, I've got kids and dogs and stuff, but they count all as animals too at this age.
To Scott's point, I'm going to try to put this in perspective. To Scott's point, you got proposed detached in Crozet. That's 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath, 3,400 square feet. Price tag of $1,150,000.
Yeah.
$1,150,000. Do you want to guess the lot size, Keith? I anticipate your guess is going to be very accurate here.
Probably under a third.
Lot size is, Keith Smith, you must do this professionally, is right at a third. In fact, it's 0.26.
Yeah,
is this your day job?
No, this is my day job. According to Yonna, this is my day job, right?
What is the lowest price point that you can find right now? I'm looking at the MLS now in Old Trail. What do you think it is? And I'm going to say attached and detached. Lowest price point you can find. Attached first.
Attached?
Attached first, yeah.
Probably in the 450 range.
What do you think, Scott?
Bro, I ain't living in a half townhouse for $450,000 in Crozet. That's just. But yeah, I would say
for the sake of a talk show.
For the sake of a talk show, 475 and 875 are my low.
Attached, the lowest that you can find attached in Old Trail, 476. Ask right on
Bing, bing.
Morris's call right there. How about the lowest price point detached in Old Trail?
It'll have an 8 in front of it, if not a 9.
Detached, the lowest price point in Old Trail. Right in Old Trail, we love Old Trail. Absolutely love Old Trail. The lowest detached in Old Trail right now is actually you get something for $650, $654 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd have to take a hard look at that. But to go back to Scott's point, though, it's what's important to you. That's the reason why this conversation is always about what are you trying to achieve?
And technically, I am just a redneck who, has, so I don't want some of the same things that you might want. So when you talk about what's the hottest, I don't know, man. I want to walk around naked outside sometimes.
Yeah, hot is up to what's important to the buyer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he's saying.
But you'll find, and I'm sure you see this all the time, we'll have a conversation with Jerry and Mrs. Miller, and they say, look, I want to be in Crozet because that's where I want to be and all this kind of great stuff. And then reality all of a sudden sets in.
Well, we got some Crozetians watching for here that are commenting right now. It's so funny how that works. Would you like to hear some of the comments from the Crozetians?
We like Crozet.
We love Crozet. We love Crozet.
I love Old Trail. It's a great golf course.
We love
I just don't want to live there.
I just did a couple transactions in there.
Really? Okay.
Thank you for getting us into trouble, Jerry.
No, this is not Jared. This is from someone who's on the Crozet Community Advisory Committee, and this is Mark McKinney. Crozet equals school, small town feel, and family-focused neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That's from Mark McKinney. More from Crozet. This is from Laura. Says Crozet is all about community, and we have restaurants, Pro Renata and Star Hill now, and wait till downtown is being built. It's a beautiful community. Buster, more from Mark. We will get to that here. We're on something hot here. This is from Buster, who's in the mortgage business. This is for you guys. I know the rules on them somewhat, as in you're not taking offers, but without answering my question, how are we treating these coming soon homes? I truly feel like this is just a bargaining stage while the owner is doing staging or home repair to get it ready for sale. How many agents contact you and say, let's wrap this up, or trying to get a foot in the door before it hits the MLS?
So we just continue to want to get Keith in trouble today. Is that what we want to do?
He's in the mortgage business.
Yeah, so...
First, you should identify what coming soon is.
Yeah. So coming soon is something that came down the pike from NAR, National Association of Realtors. And what that does is that gives us the ability, us meaning the listing side of the house, to go ahead and put it in coming soon. Here's the difference. It does not go out to the public. It only goes out to, when I put it in the MLS, it only goes out to other real estate agents. And to answer the question directly, the rules are you cannot show the home until it goes live. So what'll happen is we'll put it on, and he's somewhat correct. It's a great tool from a listing perspective. You can go ahead and put it out there. Real estate agents are going to see it. You can set up showings after whatever your live date is. You're required to put in the MLS when the live date's going to be. So if we're doing if we're putting in coming soon today and it's going to go live, so in other words, out to the public on Sunday, then there has to be the date in that, and you cannot show that home until after Sunday. So it's just... to
Buster's question, and I guess I'm going to piggyback a little on his, is so you're saying it can't go out to the public as far as actual showings, but what about when we're seeing these...
on Zillow.
Not Zillow, like Facebook, like the agents, it's not, this coming soon.
So let me
because the amount of information that has gone along with these coming soons has gone from no property address, just a picture of the house, and hey, get ready, a couple snapshots to
a virtual tour.
Yeah.
So here's the requirement. So that
great comments.
You can put a sign in the ground. I could do Facebook, which we do, right? You can do all that kind of great stuff. But you have to put it in the MLS, and then it's not allowed to be shown. So you can do all this stuff. Hey, it's coming, so forth and so on.
So you're just there. So the goal is to drive activity without actually being, but you
Is
cannot.
anybody actually watching?
Realtors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Why
I'm
do you
gonna
keep asking that?
I'm going to get myself because I'm going to get myself into trouble.
You know they're watching this.
Yeah.
I mean, you got people in the mortgage business, realtors, people in the development business. You got folks that are heads of the development companies that you work with watching right now.
Yeah. So
Literally.
Because I'm going to get myself into trouble here. On a personal note,
This lives in the internet forever.
I know that.
Okay.
I know. It was a rhetorical question. Look, I'm personally not a fan of it. The whole intention that it was created by NAR is to prevent what's called pocket listings. So
Doesn't it seem like it actually, like all things government driven?
well, it's not government, so it's by the association.
Okay,
That's
by
a
the
different-
association. Let's say by all things, when you put a lot of human brains together and they get to make a decision, they can make the problem that they're trying to prevent worse in doing so.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what. I mean, if we're trying to prevent pocket listings, but at the same time
So the
advertising
the
to
question
100
you're trying
times,
to ask me is it
100x
working?
more people. Yeah.
And I don't know the answer
Yeah.
to that.
Okay.
You would probably say, is it working?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, all right. He's choosing.
Remember, I'm on the car board,
Okay,
so
all
I've
right.
got to be
We'll
careful.
go to a different topic right here. I appreciate that. I respect that. Okay, more on this.
The bottom line, it is from a sales perspective, right? From a listings perspective, it could be used as a tool to get information out there. You just can't show the home
Or accept an offer.
until it goes live.
This is a great comment for both of you guys from Crozet. Mark, you are strong.
Oh, look at that! I just got fired.
Mark, you are strong. And I'm experiencing this firsthand. My tax assessment went up 12%
Yeah.
year over year. And 12%, to put that in perspective, is roughly $600 every 6 months, $1,200 a year. That's a chunk of money.
Yeah.
$1,200 a year. Okay. Mark, his went up $500 over the course of a year. What no one else is talking about that you guys need to talk about is the county's recently released tax assessment and how that may impact people's ability to buy in Albemarle County. As an example, my single-family home property tax is now roughly $4,800 a year, about $500 more than last year.
So let's talk about in the last time, and Keith can speak much more accurately and with more knowledge than I can about this, the last time that we faced these things and some of the mitigations that the counties ended up having to do, they'd brought in like private assessors to where some of these numbers were coming from. I grew up in a very rural part of Fluvanna County, and the value of that property increased 100% in 1 year.
That's obscene.
And then increased 50% on top of that the following year. So 150%. And because
Your parents had to deal with that.
Yeah, and I say 24 months in like a 36-month period, because they came in and there was like a private company that did the assessment. Everybody, then a huge amount of pushback, and then another assessment that came in after that. So yeah, I think that's but if you're getting all this increase in valuation, is the government not going to step in and try to get their little piece? I mean,
So we have spoken about this multiple times on Real Talk. So the real question, number one question I get between December and January on different jurisdictions is, my house really worth this amount of money? So most folks do not know this. You can contest your tax assessment. And generally what we'll do is we'll get these phone calls. I'm actually doing it for me personally on some rental properties we own in Albemarle County, because they're way out of whack on what it is versus the market. And we're contesting them, and we'll win because we'll give them data that it's about $25,000 higher than it should be. And they'll adjust it. What they count on is folks not doing that. But you can do that. So reach out to a trusted advisor, reach out to a realtor, say, hey, is this really what the market value, because that's what they're supposed to do. It's supposed to be at the market value of what it is. Is my market value really this number? Now, If it's below market value, keep your mouth shut and keep on moving. But if it's over market value, you can contest this. There's a formal process to do that. And I would encourage folks to pull up the Albemarle County Board of website to find out exactly how that process works.
You can also combat the value of your vehicle that they're hitting you for. However, right now, I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Because if they do a comp on your vehicle, it's probably going to come in higher.
Yeah.
Best of that one is leave well enough alone.
Yeah.
So this one, in response to the coming on the market.
We're changing it to coming soon. To coming on the market.
This is what the viewers want. I'm just trying to keep pace and tempo here. It's all about share it on Facebook, put it here, put it there. I have had people call me and ask to get a pre on a coming soon.
Say that again now?
A pre-qual on a coming soon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's legit.
And I can only do so much. Again, I think they are over the top. If you advertise it, then put it live. Scott and I have so many rules on trigger terms, and a coming soon is essentially that for us.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, and
what's a trigger term?
This is Buster. Is that?
Yeah.
Buster.
What's a trigger term?
Like truth in lending type of like when realtors go out and be like and post rates are this with like no APR qualification or anything else. It's like
we should be staying away from that stuff.
Stay in your lane. At the same time, it drives activity. So if you're doing it and you can't get in trouble for it, I don't mind. If it's gonna make my phone ring, that's totally fine. I feel the same way about this. If somebody's calling me to get a pre-approval on a coming soon, all I'm doing is helping you get in position to go win or make an offer when you can with your team. Like, I don't think that's really overstepping anything. That's just helping a borrower get prepared and be in their best place. When it comes into I'm also not here to govern. Like,
you're such a free market guy.
Yeah. So,
but at the end of the day, if I'm representing Jerry, and Judah is putting a coming soon, and Jerry's gone through the pictures and he likes it and he wants to potentially look at it and make an offer at it, I'm going to have him reach out to you, right? And I'm going to say, let's go through this.
Can Jerry buy this?
What
do these numbers look like?
Well, I know Jerry can buy it, but what I wanted to do is I want you to do the pre-approval. I want you to go through underwriting. I want to take advantage of that time, right? So we have that done instead of us trying to do it in real time. So to me, from a buyer's perspective, if I've got a buyer that likes it and it's out coming soon, I know what's going to happen on a certain date. There's going to be a ton of showings on it. So let's go through the pre-approval so I'm using it. I'm just kind of spinning it so it's a positive on it. Then I'm just I'm going to set up my home inspector. I'm going to do all this kind of great stuff, and we're going to get in that house the first opportunity that we can.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what I found on this coming soon on the few that we have done. It's literally getting fired as my phone is ringing.
Is that your wife?
Yeah.
What is she saying right there?
Stop? No. She's calling me, so I just shut off the hearing aids. So
She's watching you.
Yeah, I know that. So what? Yeah. You got an extra bedroom?
Yeah. That is. We should change the topic. We should change it. Is that what's going on right there?
No. I'm only teasing you.
Okay.
So it was actually a real estate agent calling me.
Okay.
But what I've seen, which is interesting from a local agent's perspective, what's happening, the last one that I did, which was a pretty unique situation, all the Northern Virginia agents set up the showings before the local agents did, which is really interesting because what happens is because we data share with Bright, with Northern Virginia is seeing these coming soon as well as we are. It's very interesting.
How about this one?
We'll move on.
Yeah, I think we should move on as well. New development in Crozet is being proposed. Villas would be priced at $550,000 to $725,000, and most of the townhouses will be priced about $425K to $550,000.
That's in today's dollars.
That is the new middle density in Albemarle's master plan. Mm-hmm. That's astronomical.
Yeah.
Astronomical, Keith.
And look for that number to go up.
Yeah, it's got to go up. And why does it have to go up? Because of cost of goods.
Labor shortage.
Rate increases.
Inflation, rate increases, assuming it gets approved. This is years out, multiple years out before product's in the ground. So that number will be a little higher.
This is Gwendolyn wants some perspective from you on Fashion Square, and if there's any hope of that turning into anything affordable, or is it just going to sit the way it is? This is the magic wand. Yeah.
That's about what it's going to take. That I get asked that question quite often. You have to, Gwendolyn, do yourself a favor, get online, look at the GIS for that. It's carved up into too many different parcels and ownership. It's going to be a long time to untie that mess before something could be done with it. It should be. It's what Diantha was speaking to last Friday, but it's just a legal mess. It's going to be a long time before that thing gets untangled.
Okay, this one for Scott Morris. A mention, and Judah, let's mark the time here. Scott Morris, Ross Mortgage, a message to buyers and a message to folks interested in the refinancing of their current home. Two messages for the marketplace, please.
Message to buyers, rates are moving. How does that affect you? Have you talked to your realtor partner? Have you talked to me or another trusted advisor, Butch? What are you doing in order to best prepare yourself for your next purchase? How are you with your documents in order and preparedness so that when that property comes on the market, you can go out and make an offer? As far as your refinances go, if you've been in the house for a little while, now is the time to go in and grab that equity to make repairs, take out a home equity line of credit before things start to move. If you're planning to sell in the next few years, home equity line of credit. If you're planning on being there for an extended amount of period, cash out refinance. We are still at significant historical lows. So like the panic that you see on the news is not the reality of our lives. Go out, make the best decision that you can as an individual, use the people around you to do the work, and execute. Shoot, move, and communicate.
Excellent. Excellent.
So if I'm at 6%, which you know I am, on my current home, and I want to refinance at...
Current one you reside in?
And I want to refinance it to 3.5 or 4, because I'm picking up a 2% spread. How long do I need to stay in that house before I break even?
We just need to do the math on what your closing costs are going to be and your time to recoup.
Let's assume I'm rolling it in for the moment. It was at 4 years, 3 years?
$10,000. Let's say you're lowering your payment. All right, let's say $10,000, you're saving $100 a month. 10 years is going to be your break even.
So that's the conversation we are going to have offline, because we're trying to debate, do we want to refinance, cash out, because our house is 21 years old and we just put a new roof on it, but there's a bunch of things we need to do for it before we put it on the market, and we're trying to figure out the math. So and that's kind of one show we're going to save. I've got permission from Mrs. Smith to be a little bit more detailed on our personal situation, but I'd love to walk through what that looks like from our perspective, and we'll do it live. Maybe it'll help somebody.
Absolutely.
You want to do that next Wednesday?
We need to talk offline. I might have a conflict for next Wednesday, so.
Okay, we'll do that. Keith Smith, any closing thoughts for you?
I actually do. I just don't want to bring it up at this late of the show. It might be something for Friday, but I just want to throw something out there. I had a really interesting conversation with multiple rural jurisdictions yesterday on a meeting in reference to the UVA's affordable housing thing. And the question I got asked from the rural jurisdictions, and it's just why I'm a little off today, has been running through my head. They literally asked me, why should we care? Why should the rural jurisdictions around here care what UVA is doing? And I think I'm going to bring that up on Friday, but that was just really blew my mind on why they should care what UVA is doing. So just to throw that out there as a food for thought.
Is that coming up Friday?
That's coming up Friday.
Ned Galloway, Board of Supervisors on Friday. Neil Williamson, Free Enterprise Forum on Friday. Keith Smith and myself. Scott Morris is of Ross Mortgage. Scott Morris, Ross Mortgage. Dude is A+++. Best way to contact you, Scott Morris?
reach out to me on Facebook and Messenger. Call me, send smoke signals, whatever you need to do.
He's easy to reach.
I'm easy. Google me. Yeah. Check out my reviews. Be like, wow, this guy's great. Let's work with him.
And he will pick the phone
Dude,
up
he
early.
picks up the phone. I've seen it firsthand. The dude lives on the phone. Do you
This-
not?
this-
You live on the phone.
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my phone is in my hands constantly. Scott may beat me. What's the time on phone? You get that each week, don't you? You get the notification from the phone?
I don't. I try not to look at screen time. It's depressing.
Yeah, me too. Mine is utterly depressing. It's absolutely depressing. Judah Wickhauer is our director. This show, we try to bring topics that are difficult and make them approachable for you. Real Talk with Scott Morris, Keith Smith, myself, Jerry Miller, and Judah Wickhauer. We'll see you on the I Love CVille show in T-minus 50 minutes. You guys have a good morning. Take care.